Welcome to our channel, You Can Be the Change. Today, in the series Mind Matters, we are talking to psychologists and psychiatrists. And today we have Aditi Bansali, who we had spoken to earlier as well. We spoke a lot about FOMO syndrome. And today we are talking about what a psychologist or a psychiatrist goes through treating the patients. So just as an introduction, Aditi Bansali, she is a practicing counseling psychologist. She's a hypnotherapist, and then she's also a neurocounselor. So welcome back to our channel, Aditi. We are so grateful that you have agreed to come again on our channel and talk about mental health and mental well-being. So welcome to our channel.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Of course, pleasure is ours. So, we are of course, we talked about, all the patients, and in our previous one, we were talking about FOMO syndrome and whatnot, right? And then you were talking, we did talk about what kind of patients, come in and now when you treat patients, you yourself have to be like of sound mind, and there would be patients who impact you like somewhere, right? I mean, they might impact you how their story is or how their journey is, right? So if I may ask, so for you to treat someone, and especially for such an important cause, you yourself have to be very much like, how should I put it, like very calm, and have to have very kind of mindset where you're not driven by the same. So how do you maintain your own sanity while treating the patients?
Wow, that's a very difficult one. And up until now, I did not figure out the answer to it. But of course, when you are taking clients back to back, and it's just so emotionally overwhelming for you as well, as because again, you are a human, and whatever you sort of take in reflects back, right?
Mhm.
So regulating your nervous system again and again and again is something how I would like to say how this is how I would like to sort of it keeps me sane basically,
Uh-huh.
regulating my nervous system.
Uh-huh.
And in between our sessions we take 10 to 15 minutes ka break so
Huh.
that we also get a breather, and we take a walk or we just quickly grab something to eat. We are just sitting with all of those emotions, feeling and processing, and then everything good to go.
Right, right. So, I believe, Aditi, you are associated with this IAS counseling center.
Right.
So, while you are practicing, and you might be getting a lot of patients in the day, right? Do you tend to take work home? Like, are there situations when someone has moved you so much, like, you are taking that with you at home? Has it disturbed you any time?
Right. Initial years of my practice, I think for any beginner therapist, it's difficult not to take things home because जो client की stories होती है, it keeps on going on and on and on, and it's just there. Sometimes it's just you are trying to empathize. Oh my God, this happened with this person or something like that in your head. But as in when you keep practicing, you sort of realize that you cannot afford to do that every single time. So that is where I think boundary setting comes in. So let's say if I'm working from 9 to 6, post 6 o'clock, I have taken a flat here, which is like 20 minutes away from my workplace. So those 20 minutes I use to sort of, change my zone or, change that work mode to like myself or something like that.
Uh-huh.
So that is one thing that really helps me. But apart from that, I think I take after every client, especially after the last client, I take 10 minutes for myself. I sort of recall everything. And I'm just like, I have to constantly remind myself, okay, this is your work. Now you have a life outside of work.
Yeah.
So you don't have to take work home per se.
Mm.
Because if you do that, it's very exhausting for you.
Yeah, yeah. But which is very wise of you. I mean, I would say that, this is very important. And of course, we say, even not about only like a psychologist, or like you're dealing with brain related or psychology related stuff. But anyways, it is said don't take work home. But you know, like I work in a corporate world, right? Even if I'm taking work home, it is not impacting me mentally, or it's not impacting me psychologically. And it's maybe not, it's not impacting my personal life as my personal relationships, right? But you might be dealing with cases where, I mean, there are kind of people coming from all aspects, right? Have you ever seen it starts impacting your personal life? Did you experience that as well? Like your
Right.
personal relationships, for that matter.
Absolutely, it does. You have to stop therapizing every person that you meet. It's very, very difficult because no matter how much consciously you try, how many times you try, it sort of gets in the way somehow. Sometimes I often catch myself overly empathizing with someone,
Uh-huh.
or just trying to listen to their story like a therapist would, with all the nods and hmms and active listening. And I have to like sort of remind myself, okay, this is my friend. I can be a friend to
Yeah.
them. Okay,
Yeah.
even with my parents, they sometimes do tell me कि तुम अपना psychology यहाँ पे मत लगाओ.
All
ठीक है?
right. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is what I often hear
Yeah.
from my parents.
Yeah.
So it's very, very difficult. Even when you meet a new person, no, you'll start seeing patterns in them. कि
Uh-huh.
maybe बचपन में उनको उनके साथ ये हुआ है. That is why the person is like that.
Right.
So it gets to you. It really does. But again, something to be very, very mindful of, which requires a lot of conscious effort again.
Ah, right. So now changing a little bit of gears here, Aditi. I mean, this is of course talking about you. Now talking about the patients that you kind of look into. Has it been times when there has, like, you've put in a lot of effort with that patient, right? But the patient has not reciprocated the way you would expect the patient to be, right? So how do you deal with that? Because that's kind of it's, I would not say failure, but it's more like a little disheartening there, because you like how you're, so how do you deal with that, and how do you deal with that kind of a patient as well?
Right. So in our terms, it is called counter transference. When a client is evoking any sort of feeling in you, this is a feeling of defeat, a feeling of failure, a feeling of, oh, what am I doing in my sessions? Am I doing everything right? So this is my counter transference coming in. So firstly, becoming aware कि okay, ये मेरी feelings है जो client मेरे से client मुझे ऐसा feel करवा रहा है. Okay, a lot of time what happens is when we use psychodynamic therapy, we see कि client unconsciously, their psyche, they wants us to fail because they either want to prove something or they want to defeat us in some way, which is not at all conscious. So always maintaining that empathetic approach towards client is one thing. Second one, I have learned over years how to talk about my feelings as a therapist with my client. If I'm having this feeling, ki, okay, maybe we are not going anywhere, I gently bring it up in my sessions. We have been together in this therapeutic process for this long, and I don't see any changes, and not necessarily you have to change, but it can be anything basically. So what is it that I can change in my approach, and what is it that is happening within our sessions, and this is how I'm feeling, what are your thoughts on this? And I've learned that over years to bring that up in the session, although it's discomforting, but it's important, while at the same time I also feel um कि whenever we are having these sort of feelings, or it can be romantic feelings as well, a lot of times you sort of just see the person in a different way. At that time, probably talking about it, maintaining that professionalism in a relationship is extremely crucial. And if you're not able to do that, it's best to refer the client to somebody else
Right.
if we are not able to take it, because not every client and therapist will be a right match.
True,
you know?
right? Yeah, I mean, we see the doctors also, right? At times it is like the doctor might be good. I mean, for any
Right.
physical issues as well, but then you would want to change a doctor because you're not
Mhm.
happy, or the doctor feels that you need some other kind of an treatment. So makes sense. Now, having said that, and you brought up a good point of you can at times, and y- like your job is where you have to connect with the somewhere you have to connect with the patient emotionally as well, because there are things which are very emotional. So had it been any time where you felt that there has been that kind of a connection? Now I myself need to talk to my kind of I would say fellow colleagues or something, that not as colleague doctors, but more like a kind of a psychologist, so that I can take it out, because I know, like, you would know better that this is something that's now not normal, and I need to talk. So have you faced these kind of situations, you and your colleagues as well? Like, it's not just you, right? Yeah.
I think it's very, very human to feel all of these things. And that is why we take regular supervision for our clients.
Uh,
No matter how experienced a person is,
mm,
especially in the beginning, okay,
uh,
in
uh,
the initial years of our career,
mm,
it's highly recommended. And have also seen that how taking personal supervision.
mm,
So there's a supervisor who's more experienced, and if you if you're things are aligning as to how they work and how you work. So at that time, I think supervision helps a lot, because when you're talking to a supervisor about your case without disclosing social demographic information or any identifying information, you're discussing the case. This is what I'm feeling, this is where I'm stuck, or something like that. They help you navigate through it.
mm,
So they are professionals, they are highly experienced, and they just a lot of times they will catch कि okay यहाँ पे ये चीज हो रही है इसकी वजह से ऐसा हो रहा है.
mm,
So talking to your colleagues is of course nice,
mm,
but at the same time, I usually mostly deal with all of these things during my supervision.
okay. Now, I'm just realizing ki I had not asked you a very basic question. How did you, and what made you decide that you want to become a psychologist?
To be honest, it's not a very fancy or a very captivating story. I really wanted to study literature. I took up humanities in my 11th, and then I started reading about psychology. And somewhere in some book of psychology, we read that in order to be successful in a career, you need three things. One is intelligence, interest, and aptitude. And I had all three in this field. And I just gradually, sort of did my bachelor's in it, and then three masters in it, and
Mm-hmm.
7, 8 years of everything, studying, practicing. I have never ever regretted being in this field,
Mm-hmm.
because I think this is something my values align with,
Mm-hmm.
and the way I am, I carry myself, the way I talk, it just fits really, really well.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I'm here.
So was it very difficult to get, like, when you started practicing and you started looking at patients, was it difficult to deal with your first patient? Because what was that experience like?
My very first client was a very tricky one for me. It was during our master's, so we used to take pro bono clients. Pro bono is free of cost,
Mm-hmm.
and they know that we are under supervision, we are trainees. So my client, he was, I think, 25, 26, from India.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing that he told me was कि therapy is a scam. मैं नहीं मानता therapy में, and especially when it comes to females, I am not able to trust them. वो बातें इधर की उधर कर देती है. And it was the first ever session, 5 minutes in the session, and I get to hear this.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, oh my God, I have to be calm. I don't have to react. I have to respond.
Yeah.
I was in my head as well at that moment.
Uh-huh.
And he could see that I was in my head. It was
Mm-hmm.
a very difficult client, and it went on for I think 1.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of issues, traumatic childhood and everything. But towards the very end, he wrote a very nice feedback message, and he said that I am able to finally trust women in my life, and that is all because of you.
Oh, nice.
And after that, he has actually referred like 6 clients to me.
Oh, wow.
So that is a lot, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So now, like, I think that that speaks about how dedicated and devoted you are towards your profession. Now, talking about there would be, and especially, you know, when it comes to psychology or when it comes to brain related or psychology related issues, right? Not just the patient, everybody around the patient are also doctors, right? Their relatives and this is the reason, that's the reason, this how, like, of course you are a trained psychologist, right? But then uh, how do you deal with such kind of situations where you have to maintain, now the patient also at times, you might be getting a patient who's like say for example, there's a child who wants the mother by his or her side, right, while going through the therapy, and the mother or the father are totally all the time intervening in your treatment, right, in your line of treatment. How do you kind of have to deal with that? Have you dealt with that, and how do you deal with this situation?
I think there are two questions. One, I'm what I'm seeing is ki, how is therapy different from talking to a friend or relative? Because
Hmm.
everyone is like ki, it's just a phase, it will pass
Yeah,
away,
yeah.
hota hai, something like that, right?
Hmm.
And talking to a friend, that actually difficult. I also have a question for you. Have you ever been to therapy?
I have.
Okay.
Okay. And
Was it different from talking to a
yes, I'll be very honest with you. So I had a personal life changing event, right? And somewhere I felt that I have a very good circle of friends around, and very very nice people, very nice friends. Everyone who be by my side, and I had never felt that. Even for that matter, my family, like I have huge, like my family, myself, like immediate family, but my cousins and everyone is like, very huge supporters and everything. But I went through a life event, and when I went through that, I was feeling I could not sleep. So I was not able to sleep, and then I was like awake for the whole night, and I started experiencing, because I was not sleeping, I started experiencing a little bit of brain fog here and there, because in the morning I would not be like totally energized and all, and then there were thoughts coming in my mind. So somehow, I thought, I have to seek a therapy here, and I should consult a psychologist, right? So here in US, usually you get referred to by your family medicine or the your family doctor. So I actually reached out to her saying that I just need to talk to a therapist, and she was like, "Do you really need?" I was like, "Yes, I am feeling, because I am feeling somewhere. I There is something." And it was very strange for me, because I was talking to my friends. They knew all what I was going through and everything. But I'll tell you what was the difference between the talking to the psychologist versus talking to my friends. When I went on to that session, and actually it was a video session, it was not even I was meeting the person in person. So I just had my video session, and 2 minutes into my video session, and I was crying, and I kept on crying. And I myself am a person who usually I am not a person who would cry in front of strangers. I mean, I don't cry usually I don't cry in front of friends also, like I have a very close knit group where I might cry and all, or be myself, right? But I was amazed at myself, that and I was trying to stop, I was not able to stop. So I kept on crying, and I kept on saying things, and I think I said a lot of things which I had somewhere, but I was not able to say it to somebody, anybody else. And I had 3 sessions, but after those 3 sessions my mind was clear. I think it was more like a rejuvenation for me, because I felt like, everything has come out. And rather, the therapist also said that you do not need any more sessions, you're done, like you're good. I told my friends, and they were like, "Oh, we were always by your side. Why did you feel that you cannot talk to us?" But I think there was a difference. I mean, I don't know what, but there was something. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing something so personal.
Yeah.
Glad you did feel a difference. I think majority of the people who goes for therapy, they do see a difference because let's say we are crying in front of your friend, they will be like कि with boys especially it happens कि हम नहीं बात करते हैं, we just go out, we smoke, we drink, we eat good food and it's all good,
Yeah.
right? A lot of time it happens, especially in Indian context, I would say. They will say अगर आप रो रहे हो, so they will say कि okay, stop crying, रोना बंद करो. That is not how it works. If you are crying, cry it out, let your emotions out. That is one way of processing. So therapy is a very, very, very safe space where the relationship is healing in nature. Okay, it's the relationship. Techniques, tools, these are just what 20-30% of it. It's the rapport, it's the trust, it's the safe space. And like again, this is something off topic, but this trend going on, ki chat GPT is not safe. They are revealing your information and all the hype on this media for AI as a therapy. And AI, of course, can give you a lot of information, a lot of advice, just like your friend or a parent. They will advise you. But in therapy, we do not give advices. We make an environment that sort of helps you figure out answers for yourself, for yourselves. We do not take any decisions on behalf of our clients. We
Yeah.
make them capable enough to take their own decisions in the most appropriate manner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that is
Yeah.
how therapy differs, and a lot of other reasons that can go on and on.
Yeah.
But I forgot the second question that you actually asked me.
No, I think yeah, but I'll just ask you again, but I'll add to it is that the difference that I felt when I was going through the therapy, and I think somewhere within me like was that I didn't want anyone to sympathize with me. At that time, I just wanted someone to listen to me, right? And just like so with friends who mean really well of you, your family who means really well of you, right? When you cry in front of them or you kind of there are emotions coming out, I think they in the effort to protect you, that's where they'll say stop crying, everything will be okay, or they'll start sympathizing with you. Yes, that person was like that, or this situation was like that, and all that. But I think at times when the person who's going through, and I can say it from the personal experience, they don't need sympathy at those times, right? What they need is that there is something a lot inside, let it come out, right? And the way to come out it is maybe and for me I felt maybe I was talking to a totally stranger person who did not know my background, who she was doing nothing. She just used to sit for 45 minutes and she would just say, "You start." And I would just start. Like, this happened, this happened, this happened, this. And I would be like crying and all, and she would not stop me from crying. She'll be like, "Okay, yeah, that's fine." And then she will give me some of the therapy tips, like, right? I mean, like, do this and, do this practice, do that, or do this exercise. But she would never say, "Oh, it's okay, it will be fine," or so I think that's where probably that is what at times a person needs, that don't just listen out. And and it would be very natural that your friends or your family would try to just cover you, so they would try to sympathize or say things will be okay. So my question to you was like, you as as a psychologist, this is what you have to practice every day, right? But then do you also feel the need of going to your kind of, where I was saying was that there are patients who are very attached to some of their family member, and they are trying to advise you, like the family member is trying to advise you things, or kind of you feel you're not able to do enough justice to the patient because of some interferences happening. So how do you deal with that kind of situation?
Right. If it's a minor, as in below 18, uh, And if there is something that the parents should know of, like if the person is capable of harming themselves or others around them, or if there are any legal aspects involved, these are limits to confidentiality. At that time, we have to step in, we have to involve their guardian or whoever there is. Okay, because it gets tricky in such aspects. But apart from that, it is highly confidential. It would be wrong of me कि जो भी client मुझे बता रहा है, go and tell all of that to their parents or their partner or whoever that is. That is highly unethical, highly unprofessional. A lot of times you can involve a lot of you can take help of their social circle support without revealing a lot of information. If you can just tell a friend of theirs जो उनके साथ आया है कि be more compassionate with them, be more gentle, they are not in the right headspace, I think that itself is enough. Someone who can listen to you in such a situation is always a very nice thing, to be honest, because we all a lot of times we all know the answers, we all know the solutions, and we don't need that. Especially when we are in a fight also, and your partner, I've seen this with a lot of my couple clients, the male especially, nothing against them, but that is how biologically they are. They will try to support you by giving you a piece of advice कि अच्छा ऐसा नहीं हो रहा है, try doing this. But that is what women want. A lot of times we also do that, but all they want is to vent out, to rant in basic everyday life, basic scenarios. So maintaining confidentiality is something which is a must of our ethical practice, and we should do that at all costs. So a lot of times I often hear from my non-psychology friends कि तुम्हें तो बहुत gossip मिलती होगी. You have crazy clients. No, my clients are not crazy, and it's not gossip.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
is.
Yeah. But if it is the other way around, like, of course, you have to maintain the confidentiality and all. But if you have patients, relatives who are after you, that one the person you should try this kind of therapy, or there are advices that are given to the doctors. Sub doctors ban jate hain, right? So do you also get that kind of things that ki bhai ये थेरेपी करो, या उसको ये नहीं हुआ है, this is not what the person is going through, or the person is delusional, or like something like that. So do you get that, those kind of you deal with that also कि um, आपको एडवाइस मिल रहा है कि how you should treat the patient?
Of course, a lot of times, especially in Indian context, practicing in India, so the clients would often say कि हमें पता है clients के parents या their guardians की इतना कुछ major है नहीं, बस ये overact करते हैं या probably mood swings हो रहा है, something like that. So maybe you just do this, and it's just they get on your nerves sometimes. You are like कि we know what the person is going through. So very gently, very compassionately, we try to psychoeducate them that, this is beyond this, or, this is going on with the person, of course, with the client's consent. And we make them understand how difficult it is for them. We use a lot of metaphors. He very medically renowned or very common normal metaphors that a layman would understand. Especially geriatric people, they'll be like कि आप हमें सिखाओगे, हमने पूरी दुनिया देखी है, we have lived and lived, we know stuff. So that shows a lot of resistance from their end, and especially when clients are highly resistant, you don't start therapy. In therapy, what you do is you try and lower their resistance level first, and then you start working on the issues that they are having, on the concerns that they are bringing to the table. So summarizing what I just said, basically, if necessary, we do involve the family, we do psychoeducate them, we do tell them this is how, this is what it is, this is how it is supposed to be. And while we validate how they are feeling, and we don't make them or their emotions dismiss, we don't dismiss their whatever they just said, because of course it might be coming out of concern, out of love. So holding two truths at once a lot of time helps.
Yeah, right. And especially, in this situation where there is no social acceptance that, we we have a problem, we have like, or our relative has a problem which needs a therapy, or so it's actually taking them a lot of courage, I would say, to come to a therapist. And that's regards, then of course they would be having their own thoughts ki, they still would want to dismiss the fact ki, there is a problem here which needs a treatment. They would be like, okay, this is not like a problem, as in it's more like कि एक बार का है ठीक हो जाएगा, but it's more yeah, I mean, rightly said. So now, coming to one more matlab, I think one more question I have in my mind is financials, right? Now there would be patients, like there would be patients who are economically not, like, I mean, they need support and all. Of course, आजकल India maybe you have life insurances and coverages and all. But have you dealt with patients where they do not agree with your kind of line of treatment and say, we will not pay you because we don't agree with what you are treating?
Mhm. It does happen. It has happened quite a lot of times, I would say.
Hmm.
And sometimes, as a therapist, also you feel ki, oh, am I worth this? Is
Hmm.
it okay to charge this much of amount?
Hmm.
Because abhi bhi it's a privilege. Abhi bhi it's psychology is not for all,
Right.
and not just in Indian context, outside
I
as
think, yeah,
well,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, and people who take therapy, they are often labeled as कि ये तो पागल है या इतना क्या हो गया कि किसी और से जाके बात करनी पड़ रही है, something like
True.
that.
Hmm.
So you also start questioning कि
Hmm.
oh,
Hmm.
am I doing it correctly?
Hmm.
Is it okay charging this much
Hmm.
to this client given their financial background and
Hmm.
socioeconomic conditions? So
Hmm.
it's very normal to have such thoughts. So using a sliding scale, between this amount to this amount is what I'm flexible of,
Hmm.
while respecting my boundaries, my work, what I do.
Hmm.
I was reading this article uh, a little back. Sorry, got yeah. I was reading this research paper which said that you don't pay a therapist just for their expertise or experience. You pay them for their nervous system,
True.
regulated nervous system.
Yeah.
And it's the whole biology and science behind it that how one feels
Mhm.
in a session is way, way, way more important.
Right, right,
I
right.
have been taking therapy regularly since past 3 years, spending a specific amount every week. And when we have to go for have to go to a doctor, get some tests done, we don't think about money. We
Exactly.
don't bargain with the doctor.
Yeah, yeah.
कि मुझे MRI इतने में नहीं इतने में कर दो. We
True.
don't do, but with psychologists, we tend to bargain. Why is that? That's a big question mark.
Yeah.
And we as therapists also, I'm so sorry, but we as
Yeah.
therapists, so we feel कि ठीक है, कम कर देते हैं,
Uh-huh.
something like that.
Yeah, but you're in my mind because I was about to say that's exactly the same thing. Ki if I have, I go to a normal, like I go to a doctor, right? I mean, they will prescribe me tests, blood tests and all the other tests, and I will get that done, right? So somewhere in my mind as a patient also, I'm actually I'm kind of evaluating, okay, I have done these many tests and I've paid for that. So paying this much fees to the doctor makes sense because I'm somewhere relating it to it. But when it comes to psychologists, right? I mean, you do not prescribe such kind of tests, blood tests and all. I mean, you might be prescribing here and there, but not like how lipid profile or your glucose and all that. You don't do that, right? So then I mean, as a patient, maybe, they would be like, okay, why this much fees? But because there are no tests going on, she or he is just talking to to me, right? I mean, what they're just doing is sitting in their office and talking. So I think the thinking from a patient's point of view, maybe that's where they are trying to come and bargain. But of course, I mean, they're not coming giving the consideration that there is, like, as you rightly said, and that's what was going on in my back of my mind, that if I'm coming to you as a psychologist seeking help, right? I want you to be kind of in a sane mindset, right? I mean, I can't go to a psychologist who herself or himself is not like to the best from a nervous system point of view, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, but then that's what I'm seeking from a doctor, right? So I think that's where probably the mindset that it is not about the test, it's about the person who you are going to, seeking cure. That person is of value, and that's person time and value is what you're giving back to them in the form of fees. Okay. So anything else that you would want to share? Any experience of yours as a like 3 years? How much time you've been as a practicing psychologist? Is it 3+ years now, Aditi? Yeah. Any experience that our listeners would be interested in knowing or something like that?
Yeah, this is something, if I'm given the platform, I would like to talk about it. That, we often think that we will heal them or we will fix them or we will provide some kind of solution. Okay, that is not what therapy is for. You heal, you do get a lot of answers, but that is all because when you talk, we figure out a pattern. And when we break that pattern, when we change that unhealthy, whatever it is, to healthy, that is when healing takes place. And I think when a person enters the therapy space, I, this is highly subjective, and I feel कि वो 50% काम करके आ रहे हैं because they know where the problem lies and they want to work on it.
True.
So 50% they have already done. That takes a lot of courage, to be very very honest. Usually we are in denial कि हाँ ठीक है हो जाएगा, I'll smoke, I'll drink, it will be better, or I'll go for shopping, I'll go for a spa. Of course those things are nice, not denying that, but this is very very different. If you go to a doctor for fever and if I go to a doctor for fever, high chances कि हम दोनों को डोलो दे देंगे, क्रोसिन दे देंगे, something like that. But when we are in a therapy space, the individual that is sitting in front of us is very very unique. Their problems are unique, experiences, behavioral patterns, the way they think. So it is going to be highly individualized, you know and it takes a lot from a therapist and as well. So that is what they pay us for. I think I would like to say that. And yeah, there are stereotypes, but it's getting, after COVID, I think a lot more people are talking more about it, more openly, more freely, and not thinking कि okay वो पागल है इसलिए वो आ रहे हैं.
Right, right.
Yeah, they want to fix themselves.
Yeah. No, and I think you very, very good advice and very good point that you put across, right? I mean, yeah, I mean, for fever, if it is a viral fever, you'll get one medicine. If it is another kind of fever, the test would be done and you would be treated, but the treatment would be the same for everyone, right? I mean, it is a viral fever, you'll get a paracetamol, you'll get a crocin or, of that sort. But when it comes to, psychology, or when it comes to more of psychiatry, where it is more like, you know it is every person is unique, every person's circumstances are unique, why the person is needing of this therapy is unique. So I think you're bringing up a good point that every time you have to reinvent, you have to rethink. With every new patient, you have to kind of erase your past thing and then kind of come up new with that person, because you cannot have any stereotype kind of a procedure that this is what I will follow and this is the person that get cured. Well, very good point, Aditi. I think this is really helpful. So I think, having said that, I would just, I mean, I have so many things to talk to you, but I think we'll keep it for the another episode. But thank you so much for your time, Aditi, and really a lot insights about what a psychologist goes through treating a patient, right? I mean, it's very important to know also what a psychologist goes through, because of course we are coming with our problem, but they are taking with them 5 people or 6 people or 10 people's problem together, right? So they are having to deal with so many things, right? And all are emotional and psychological. It's not like कि fracture हो गया है या or I have a fever. It's very different, right? I mean, to treat such patients. So thank you so much for your time. and really appreciate all the inputs here, Aditi. We will be talking more, and we will be kind of reaching out to you more with any more questions that we would be having. And to our listeners, you heard Aditi. You heard, like, from a psychologist perspective, what a psychologist goes through when they are treating patients, or when they're, when they're kind of looking into the patient's requirements. So, as much empathy we should have towards the patient, we should have the empathy towards our psychologist also, because they go through a lot. They hear a lot from the people who have these troubles around. So if you have any questions for us, do put those in our comments, and we will be looking into our comments, and we will be trying to answer as many questions as we can. But do like, subscribe our channel, and if you like our content, please do share that with your friends as well. And we will be coming up with many more such episodes. So thank you so much for listening in, and thanks, Aditi, again for your time.
Thank you.
So I just realized, Aditi, that throughout our episode, I had been calling patients, right? And you corrected me, saying that they are not called patients; they are called clients, right? So can you just help us? Like, did I do, like, it was not? It is not referred. It should not be referred as patients, right?
Right. Patients is a word we use in a hospital or a medical psychiatric setup. In our profession, we use the word clients because it reflects a lot of agency, growth, partnership together. Historical, in like the history of psychology, they were called patients because it was seen as an illness, but not anymore, and hence we use the term clients and not patients.
Okay. So, to our listeners and viewers to this episode, wherever I have mentioned it as patients, do hear it as clients, because I think it is clients, it's not patients. So, my apologies to be referring that as patients, and it has to be clients. So, my apologies, but thanks for clarifying, Aditi, about it. Thank you so much.